Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first round ever of the Tasmanian Virtual Circuit Racing Championship. We're here at Tsukuba Circuit in Japan, and we've got some American muscle here on the track tonight in the shape of the Ford Mustang. And here with me to call the action is somebody who you may be familiar with from the Tasmanian circuit racing scene, certainly quite well known, Mr. Otis Cordwell. How are you going, Otis?
Very well, Edward. Very well. How are you, my friend?
Very well too. Just perfect way to round out the weekend, I think, sitting back and watching some quality sim racing from these guys. So while the guys are out there, they're just doing their qualifying at the moment. Richard Brooksfield is sitting top of the table at the moment with a very rapid 1 minute 0.9. And just hope to Otis, you'll be able to give people some background and explain a little bit about where these drivers are from and how this all came about, because you very much the driving force behind this particular race.
Yeah, mate. Look, the series, it's started out obviously when the COVID-19 stuff hit. We ended up with no motorsport, so I thought, what better way than to get a few competitors together. It started out just as main competitors from the Tas circuit racing scene, but we branched out to get a really good sized field of also some sim races. So, I mean, we got some good names in here tonight, Edward. We got, Joel Heinrich. He's joined us as a wildcard entry from the mainland. There's 3 wildcard entries. Joel's jumped in. He's the current HQ Racing Australian champion. He's won an Aussie Car Championship, competed in Super 2, Super 3s. We've got Adam Gowans, another Aussie car competitor. The Gowans family have been competing in motorsport in Tasmania for quite a long time. Same with Adam Garwood. That family's well known in Tasmanian motorsport. Adam's TCM driver. Yeah, basically, mate, it's just a heap of Tassie guys out here to enjoy a bit of good racing.
Yeah, and this should certainly be the formula to provide it. These Mustangs basically stripped out versions of the road cars themselves. They don't run racing tyres, they run road tyres. They've got around about 320 horsepower, and the only real difference between this and the road-going model is actually the wings and the splitters, which you can see there, plus a little bit of safety gear. So certainly, as the laps tick on with these quite big, heavy, powerful cars, the tyres do start to protest a little bit as well. So that's going to be something for these guys to manage, and it's going to be, I guess, something that the person who does the best is probably going to be the one who takes the #1 spot at the end of the night.
That's exactly right, Edward. Exactly. These cars, I think what I'm excited to see is the top 10 shootout. These guys are going to struggle to get the tyres up to temp, I think, just in this first short lap. It's not a very long lap to get them up to temp, so I expect to see a fair bit of understeer on that shootout.
Yeah, certainly getting the tyres up to temperature. We'll probably see a few different methods among the drivers of what they personally find to be the best way to get those tyres up to temp. As you mentioned, very short lap here. These cars are lapping it in around about a minute. The fast guys, almost a minute flat. So also quite a lot of twists and turns. Anybody who's familiar with Gran Turismo, played that at any stage, is going to be more than familiar with the layout here at Tsukuba. Certainly a Japanese club circuit that's known throughout the world, and not a lot of straights, a lot of corners, a lot of technical areas where you have to be very precise, and of course big heavy cars like this, weight shifting, trail braking, balancing the throttle and everything like that, and keeping that momentum up as well is going to be key for all of these guys to move forward.
If you have a look at the times, Edward, I've just jumped over to the timing screen. There is nothing in it. Absolutely nothing in it for at least the top, let's have a look here, top 15, 16 cars. I mean, there's a second basically, nearly 2 seconds. But, I mean, Alan Rushworth up here at the front, he's just under a 61-second lap with Brookfield behind him. Only 600ths off, so it is very, very tight up the front.
Yeah, it's extremely tight, and hopefully we're going to see very similar things for the race. And of course, with the times being as close as they are, the top 10 shootout's going to be all the more critical, because if you have a whole bunch of guys who are, in terms of outright potential, lapping at very, very similar speed, your starting position is going to be absolutely crucial. So these guys are going to be putting a lot of focus. The guys who make the top 10 are going to be putting a huge amount of focus into their top 10 shootout lap, because it could really make or break them for the remainder of the night.
It's one of those cars, isn't it? If you don't set yourself up in qualifying, you're going to have a long night trying to make some passes. You really got to rely on a mistake in the car in front of you, or you got to be bloody good at setting up a pass if you're going to get around here. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what these guys can do.
And you did mention earlier on about the obviously the top 10 shootout that we're discussing, but perhaps run through what the race format's going to be as well for everyone at home.
That's a good point, Edward. Yeah, we'll be running obviously this qualifying session, which I believe doesn't have a great deal of time left. About 6 minutes to go. So after that, we're going to jump into a top 10 shootout, where obviously the top 10 guys are going to battle it out on a one-lap run. From there, we'll jump into race 1. And that will be a 6-lap race. I think we're looking at about 27 entries, Edward, at the moment. So it's going to be pretty tight out there on such a short track. But 6 laps shouldn't be too much of a problem. After that, we're going to jump to an 8-lap race, where the starting position will be decided by your finishing position in the previous race. There we go to a double points race for race 3, and that'll be 10 laps. So I think lap traffic may come into play once we get up around that 8 to 10 lap mark. And after the double points race, we'll jump into a reverse grid race. So that'll actually be a race dedicated to Ian Beachy, who sadly passed away early hours of this morning. For anybody that didn't know, Ian was a massive name in Tasmanian motorsport, speedway and circuit racing. I think it's a good way to give him a little bit of a send-off here with naming the reverse grid trophy race after him tonight.
Yeah, and certainly our condolences going to the family and friends of Mr. Beachy. But yeah, if there's no real racing on to be able to dedicate to him, then certainly, this is I believe going to be a fine substitute, especially with the very strong field that we've got out here tonight. You did mention it, that there's around about 27 cars, I believe, out there ready to take to the track for these races, these 4 races that we're going to have on for you tonight. And the other thing to remember, of course, just in terms of, you did mention the lap traffic, and with such a short lap, if you get involved in any incident whatsoever, you're pretty much going to be ripe for the picking as far as going a lap down is concerned. And the other thing that you have to remember is, even though all these cars are so close together on lap time, you've also got the problem where just the way in which a field stretches out. When you're in traffic, everybody sort of stretches out single file. Guys get holed up, they get pushed off their ideal line, especially if you're battling with somebody. And before you know it, if you're buried in the field, it really doesn't take that long to be 20 plus seconds off the lead. So I think certainly, as you mentioned, lap traffic is going to come into play, especially in those longer races later on.
Certainly is. It's another one of those things like we spoke about in qualifying. You've really got to set yourself up and just keep yourself out of trouble on a track like this. Try and force a mistake out of the car in front of you, and just be patient trying to get through. So it's going to be interesting to see the tactics that come out.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of patience, there's not an awful lot going on out there at the moment. I've seen quite a few drivers overcooking it and end up facing the wrong way. Of course, everybody gunning for one of those top 10 positions, so they get to take part in the shootout. Certainly a very special thing to be a part of any time that such a format is run. But Alan Rushworth still sitting up top of the table at the moment with that 1 minute 0.9, and then also on a minute 0.9, just slightly more in the hundredths of thousandths of a second, Richard Brookfield sitting there in P2, and then Callum Bishop so close to getting into that minute bracket as well with a 101.014, and then looking further down, Gowans, Funslow, Stride, Priest, Dillon, Logan and Garwood running in that order at the moment. So there's plenty of racing to come tonight, plenty of fast cars out there. You know these guys better than I do, Otis, so just taking a look at the field down there, who are you watching with particular amount of interest? Who do you think is going to either be somebody to watch in terms of the show they're going to put on, or in terms of a race victory tonight? Who's your pick?
I'll tell you what, Ed, if you keep an eye on Sam Stride, I did a practice session with him a day or so ago, and he was really fast. The only thing with Sam is his consistency is pretty good, but in the race, entertainment. Keep an eye on Sam. He doesn't mind showing the nose up the inside of the guys in front of him. So, he's someone you want to watch for a bit of entertainment. Definitely keep an eye on Sam. Callum Bishop, I'm expecting him to place really well tonight. He's a good young, was kart racing, but last year he stepped up into Formula V's down here in the Tasmanian Circuit Racing Championship, and in his first year actually won the championship along with Rookie of the Year, so he's certainly going to be one to watch, Ed.
All right, well, there's two names to take a look at. There's a couple of names out there I recognise as well. I've seen a couple of these guys getting around on the ovals that I frequent from time to time. Guys like Dwayne Priest, Aaron Dillon, Todd Maxfield. So I'll be keeping an eye out for guys like that as well, just to see how they get on in this large field. And I can't wait to actually get everything started. We're just over a minute to go in this qualifying session now before we're going to be jumping into the top 10 shootout and all the drama that goes along with that. As mentioned, we've got 4 what's certain to be action-packed races coming up on this tight, twisted little track here. 20-odd beasts, big V8 beasts getting around such a tight, twisted little circuit. It's definitely going to be something to watch, I think.
One car to take a look at, Edward, is Dwayne Priest's car. And you know Dwayne, obviously, from the Ants car racing and the oval stuff that you frequent. Dwayne's racing tonight a tribute livery of Ian Beachy's first race car, I believe, with his first race number 70. So we would have seen Dwayne before. He used to run the 77 or 777. Tonight he's running the 70 in respect of Ian Beachy. So definitely keep an eye on Dwayne. He's hoping to do Ian proud and get up there on the podium tonight.
Well, he is sitting there in 8th position overall and has booked his place into the shootout, provided nobody beats him. Take a couple of cars to beat him, actually, in the last dying seconds of this session. Looks as though he has locked in that shootout spot, so we're going to get to see a little bit more of him and the remainder of our top 10 in just a couple of moments. And I'm guessing that we're going to be running 10th to 1st, which would probably mean that Adam Garwood's going to be our first car out on track.
Yeah, I believe that's the way it's going to be run, Edward. I think that's how it's going to go. So, taking a look. Hold on, give me 2 seconds.
I just take a moment or two just to get everything sorted out to get this top 10 shootout underway. I'm expecting to see Adam Garwood take to the track, although I could be wrong. But we'll certainly be getting a car on track shortly. I imagine race controllers just taking a couple of seconds to run down the rules to everybody potentially as well and give everyone an idea about how exactly everything's going to work. It is a little bit of a different concept, especially for guys who might not. You've got to remember with the way that real racing has been suspended all around the world, there are lots of people jumping into simulated racing who don't necessarily have a great deal of idea about how it usually works and so on. So a little bit of explanation from race control is probably going to be a good thing, but I imagine that we're going to see a car on circuit sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it does look like we're going to see Adam Garwood leave the pit lane first. Following him will be Campbell Logan, who is another young kart racer. Dwayne Priest, we spoke about, will be following him, then to Aaron Dillon, and Sam Stride, another one to watch. Adam Funslow, mate, I tell you, he's a guy to keep an eye on for pace. For the one lap, the pace he'll put on, I reckon it'll be a good show to watch. So following him will be Adam Gowans, Callum Bishop, Richard Brookfield, and then the provisional pole sitter, Alan Rushworth.
All right, so we can see Adam Garwood just sat there in the number 12 at the end of the pit lane. He has just got underway. So we did talk earlier on about the methods these guys are going to use to get those tyres up to temperature. We'll see if he employs any particular tactics to do that, or whether he's just happy to let them warm up naturally. He doesn't seem to be pouring on a huge amount of pace at the moment, just to probably just hoping to get just scrub a little bit of heat into those tyres before he goes round for his hot one in just a few moments' time.
Yeah, Adam's done a fair bit of racing, so I'll be quite interested to see how he decides to get the temp into his tyres, like you spoke about. He's certainly looking out for a bit of understeer, but Adam's got good pace, so we'll wait for him to jump onto his flying lap here and see what he's got.
He's coming up to the fast final turn now. Weight shifting, very, very crucial to get these cars balanced well through this fast last turn. And of course, you want the best run possible you can onto the start-finish straight. He takes a late apex there, as you'd expect, and comes onto the straight, uses all the road and a little bit more as he comes out to start that lap, braking well into turn one, just gets the back end of the car out a little bit, just squeezing on the throttle as early as he possibly can. You see it squirming around a little bit under power as he heads down towards some of the more technical areas on the track.
He really got stopped well into turn one there, Edward. It's a very, very important corner, as you said. If you don't get through the last corner and get yourself clean, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble coming down that straight. But he hugged the curb well, got through the hairpin nice, and he's got the car nice and square at the moment, heading into the last hairpin onto the back straight.
Yeah, he's just run, probably didn't take as much apex curb there on the inside as he wanted to, but you can still probably get on the throttle a little bit earlier taking that line, so perhaps it's not going to hurt him too much. Comes down to the last turn, absolutely crucial that he gets this one right, and he's going to put down a time here. We're not really sure how it's going to stack up with the rest of them being the first lap, of course, but he's done well there, just run out using that exit curb, and as he crosses the line, he's set a 1:01.246, which is just quicker than he went in practice. So, or practice the qualifying session earlier on, I should be saying. So that is Garwood's lap, and we're going to see Campbell Logan, who's the next car, lining up in the 27.
Yeah, that's not a bad lap, Edward. I mean, to be doing 61s at all on the first out lap, that's pretty reasonable, pretty handy.
All right, so Logan just heading out of the pits now as well. So it looks as though they're not going to try and run two cars together at once. They're just going to wait for each car to complete its flying lap before releasing the next one out of the pit lane. So that's going to give us the opportunity to take a look at the way each driver prepares for this lap. We've talked a little bit about it so far. And it looks as though Logan just using very much the same technique as we saw from Garwood, not really doing anything in terms of weaving, slamming the brakes on, anything like that, just prepared to just coax those tyres into life gradually and gently. And one of the very important things is not to run wide anywhere during your flying lap, because iRacing will mark you down as having had an off track, and if they mark you down for having gone off the track, then your lap time will be invalidated, and that is a first-class ticket to 10th on the grid. So they're all going to be hoping to avoid that, but I would not be surprised at all if somebody runs afoul of that during this session. Let's hope for Logan's sake it's not him, as he gets hard down on the power. Doesn't use as much of that exit curb as Garwood did, but we'll see how he gets into turn one.
Yeah, that's dead right, Edward. That's dead right. The you run off here in the top 10 shootout. It's going to be really disappointing not post the time, especially when you've got the pace to get yourself up into that top 10. You really want to be getting that lap in. So we'll obviously follow him in here to the left-hander. He's got to the curb very cleanly there. He's got a clean exit. The car hasn't actually got any sideways action. He has got... Yeah. Sorry, just had something come through in my ear there, Edward.
No, that's fine. He's having a beautiful run here, Logan, actually. Really has nicked all the apexes really well, using enough of the exit curbs there without using so much that's going to unsettle the car. So it's actually been a beautiful, smooth lap. It doesn't look overly fast, but I think it's going to be a case of smooth is fast in this case. This looks like a very good lap. Let's see if he's able to tuck the nose of that Mustang in, get it there on the apex. He just about did that, uses the exit curb this time, gets on the power, and he has come across in a 1:01.3. So he's actually gone behind Garwood there. So he's P10. Garwood moves up one spot for his qualifying position.
Tell you what, there's nothing in the times, is there, Edward? It's close. It'll be interesting to see what the top 3 or 4 cars come out with, but I think if you're getting into the 61s, you're on a good...
Yeah, I think so. I'd be surprised if we see any minute flats, any 60-second laps out of the top group. I think those laps were probably set with a couple of laps on the tyres, a bit of extra heat in them. So I don't think we're going to see anybody go as fast as they did in the actual qualifying session, as has been proven there by Logan there, who's actually a 10th slower than he was in the qualifying session. We've got Dwayne Priest out on track at the moment. We mentioned him earlier on with the tribute livery there to Mr. Beachy across the entire car really, but a photo of the great man there on the bonnet, I assume. So he's going to take that number 70 Mustang. Now he's taking a little bit of a different approach. He's not driving overly quick, but he does seem to be taking a couple of stabs at the brakes there, Priest, just to see if he can get some temperature into those tyres. He's kind of jabbing the brakes on, just dragging them a little bit, trying to get a little bit of the heat from the brakes to work its way into the carcass of the tyre, especially focusing on bringing those front tyres up, I think.
Tell you, Dwayne's done quite a bit of racing in his time, so he certainly knows how to get the most out of a car. And one of the things that I think Dwayne excels at is using old tyres or cold tyres. He seems to be really good with getting the most out of a tyre that's actually not very.
And this may be a tailor-made situation for Mr. Priest as he just takes a double bite of the cherry there, just kind of double apexes that first turn. And I haven't seen anybody else try that method yet, but it might actually work out for him, just diamonding off that corner a little bit, gets on the power out of that slower hairpin, doesn't waste time drifting across to the other side of the track, sets himself up immediately for the next turn. Then you've got the sweeper across here. You've got to be careful not to put wheels on the grass in this section. It's tempting to take more curb than you're probably allowed to do. And taking, much different line to the other guys. It seems to be focusing very much on a late apex. Probably could have run a little bit wider out of that turn, but it's also going to come down to what he's able to put together out of this fast final turn as well. Comes down, gets on the brakes, gets it shifted, gets all the way to that heavy Mustang shifted around, up onto the curb there, taking it narrow as he can possibly do it. Runs nice and wide there. Let's see what he comes up with. And it is a 101.248, so he is 0.02 of a second behind Adam Garwood. So Garwood still sitting on the provisional pole at the moment.
Yeah, not a bad lap by Dwayne. I thought he might have come on late to getting the car up and moving, to be honest, on his outlap. I don't know how you thought about that, Edward, but he just seemed to be late getting onto it. But Adam Garwood, like you said, still sitting on provisional pole and sitting pretty at the moment.
Yeah, we've got the 013 of Aaron Dillon out there on the track at the moment. He is just going through his warm-up procedure now, getting everything up to temperature as best as he can anyway in preparation for his fast lap. So he's got a couple of turns to go, and he's going to go out onto that long back straight. It's so crucial to get absolutely right. We saw Priest really late apex that particular turn, get the biggest run onto the straight you possibly could. I think that's probably a very good way of going about it. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dillon possibly try the same sort of thing. He's certainly right out next to that white line as he turns in here, gets a break, gets a turn, gets on the throttle as early as he dares, and really late apex that turn. Beautiful run onto the front straight here, carrying a lot of speed, I'm sure, and breaking down into turn one. Oh, he just about grabs the apex there. He manages to recover, get that nose in. Grab. Yeah, he's got a nice amount. I've seen quite a lot of guys as they're braking into turn one, getting some really nice angle on the car as they sort of angle it in there towards that apex there, a little bit wide there. Use that exit curve as much as he can, and nicely done, just clipping the apexes there, and got that fast section coming up. Hard on the brakes now to take the tight right-hander, and then he's onto that back straight. Lap's over before you know it.
I do like to see these guys running their shootout laps to see who runs what lines, because a couple of these corners, Edward, as you know, you can take a couple of different lines into them and still get some good pace out of them. As you can see, Aaron run that slightly narrower line into the last corner of the straight there, and he's just touched that apex perfectly on the way out of this and crossed the line straight to pole position with a 101.1. So he's done it by 1/10.5, which is not a bad lap. I reckon that's going to take some beating.
That's a very good lap. He should be absolutely well pleased with that. Fantastic job from Aaron Dillon, sitting top of the pops at the moment. So Sam Stride, one that we're keeping an eye on tonight. The action man, you tell me, Otis, Sam Stride. So we're going to see what he's able to put in. He popped up a 101.132 in practice. So let's see what he's able to pull out in the shootout.
Yeah, he's certainly one to watch when we get to the racing, Edward. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does. He's not frightened to, as I said, show the nose to the car in front of him. So I'd like to see what he's got for us here in the shootout lap, but I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what he does in the race.
Yeah, and he seems to be really winding this thing up quite early in the lap. He's doing a hard sort of race pace lap first up for his warm up. Seems to be doesn't really seem to be leaving a lot on the table here at the moment. As he turns into the final turn, he's going to look, as everybody will be doing, to get a nice run off there. He just fails to apex a little bit. That probably won't actually affect his terminal velocity as he goes across the start finish line into turn one. We'll see how well he actually gets a turn. Just misses the apex at the first time of asking and doesn't actually get in for the second time. So he's carried a lot of speed through there, but I just wonder if that just being a little bit offline is going to hurt his time.
Yeah, he really missed it by a couple of foot there. So I think it's his aggressive style. He's gone in with slightly colder tyres, and it just hasn't quite worked out for him. But he's looking good heading into the back half of the circuit here. He's hit just about every apex. So let's see how he pulls it up. Nice and straight. He's a little off the apex again here, but I think you can still get a decent run out of the corner there, even if you don't hit that apex, Edward.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. That corner's got a little bit of banking on it, so it should be fairly forgiving as far as hitting the apex is concerned. We'll see what kind of run he gets through here. Just a little minor correction on the turn in there that may cost a fraction, but we'll see what he does when he gets across the line. Certainly using all the exit curve there, and that's a 101.337. So that is going to put him ahead of only Logan.
Not the perfect lap. We saw him miss the corner. Missed the apex there a couple of times. I think he's paid for that in the end. But still inside the top 10 regardless, and at least into ninth. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes from.
All right, so the next car we've got heading out of the pit lane, ready to start their flying lap, is the number 32 of Adam Funslow, another driver that you spoke about pre-race, and a great-looking livery, especially in the front and rear bumpers of that particular Mustang, with all the sort of looks like some computer circuitry or something across the front and rear of that particular Mustang. Looks very nicely done.
Yeah, it's a nice looking car, mate. Just so everyone's aware, I've just had a message come through that on the broadcast we are having a little bit of trouble seeing some of the custom liveries. So it is being worked on, guys, and we are doing what we can to get them all to show up. But if we are talking about one that you can't see, we do apologize.
Yeah, the wonders of trading paints, I think we call that. It's so it works when it feels like it. But in any case, we've got Funslow now taking a really wide entry to that last turn, but appears to be carrying quite a lot of speed, 156 k's an hour there as he crosses the start-finish line, braking hard into turn one. How does he pick up the apex? Does he get the nose in? He almost does. He didn't quite clip it there on the inside, but looked like he had quite a nice exit, and in just a moment he's going to be hard on the brakes for that left-hand hairpin, swings the car in there and really nails it down quite well through the into the apex on that particular turn, and now coming up to the slightly quicker section, foot hard down, speed building here. He's going to have to get right on the brakes, get it stopped nice and straight, and yeah, front discs glowing as he turns into that right-hander there and gets the apex nicely done. So onto the back straight.
So looking like a good lap, Edward. He's stayed fairly clean. I haven't seen the car get any sideways action going yet. Let's just see how he gets through this last corner. He's going to get into the apex almost perfectly. Got a little bit of a slide on. He's stayed on the green stuff there, and he's got it over the line. He's gone to pole with a 101 dead. That is a fast time, Edward. I'm quite impressed.
That is a very, very fast time. We said that Aaron Dillon was going to take some beating, didn't we? But Funslow's certainly come along only a couple of cars later and got that job done. So fantastic run there from Funslow. Now we've got Gowans heading out in the that nice red Mustang there. Well, red as far as we can tell. I can't tell necessarily what guys at home may be seeing, but certainly looks as though he is, well, he qualified fourth in the qualifying session, didn't he? So we'd be expecting some good pace out of Gowans as well for this one-lap dash.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how he goes. We had a practice race the other day, and Gowans actually ended up in P1, and we told him to do a a burnout to celebrate, and he actually pulled the cord clean out of his steering wheel and had to get it fixed before this weekend. But no burnouts from Adam tonight, this weekend. We'll hopefully keep him on the track. No burnouts, keep the wheel in one piece, and let's see how he goes for his flying lap as he comes down the back straight, just about to turn into the final corner.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a good run through there. I must say that's the first time I've ever heard of a virtual burnout causing actual damage, but I guess there's a first time for everything as Cowans runs on the front straight and carries good speed there across the line. Nice braking into turn 2. Weight shifts really well. Takes a whole bunch of apex there on the inside. Done really, really nicely. So back on the throttle, up through the gears as he heads down to the next heavy braking point there. And really nice aggressive turn in there. Apex as well. He's going to try and use some of that exit curb. No, he doesn't get out that far because he's got to get back over to the left, get it turned in again, and probably running a little bit wider out to that curb than we've seen a few of the guys do so far. He's going to have to get hard on the brakes here, get it turned down, and is he going to get into the apex? Not quite, but as we say, the banking there is going to help him out. Onto the throttle, onto the back straight, and one turn to go for Adam Cowans.
Yeah, really nice clean lap, Edward. He's kept the car nice and straight. No oversteer. A little bit of understeer coming into the last corner there, but he did make the apex in the end. He's kept it nice and square all lap, and that's a great
1 minute point 9.
1 minute point 9. That is impressive. That is a
we were saying at the start that we just didn't think that they were going to get into that kind of time. But after Dylan's lap went in, I thought, well, maybe they will. It was going to take something like that to beat him. And there he is. He goes top with a 1 minute point 9. Fantastic job.
I've got to be honest, I certainly didn't see anyone getting into the 60s tonight in the top 10 shootout. But as the rubber's laying down on the track, Edward, it's obviously applying a little bit more grip for these guys. And they're getting through the corners nice and quick.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, aren't they? So Callum Bishop out on track at the moment, just getting his car all warmed up and ready to go, getting everything exactly where he wants it, switches and everything. Everything's set up exactly the way he's going to want it for this one flying lap, which is going to dictate so much of how the rest of his evening's going to go.
Yeah, that's right, Edward. These guys have really got to, as we've stated earlier, get this lap in as best you can, because it's really going to dictate what you do for the rest of the event. So Callum's on his way through the last corner now. He's got onto that apex, got the power down nice and early, coming across the start-finish line to start his flying lap. Let's see how he gets it pulled up into turn 1. He pulls it up nice and square, gets it turned in, just misses the apex, but uses the outside just to keep himself on the track. It's looking not too bad so far, Edward, as he comes into the first hairpin where he gets onto the apex nice and early. Good drive out. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, it is looking good, isn't it? He carried a mammoth amount of speed across the start-finish line. He was around about 4 k's an hour faster than most of the guys we've seen so far. He's up around about 159 k's an hour as he came across the line. And as you mentioned, just missing the apex there at turn 1, but he's been picture perfect just about everywhere else. So coming down this back straight now, throttle hard down, jammed up against the firewall, and he's going to throw it in here or coax it in, depending on which method he decides to take. Just a slight correction there, bit of understeer. Is he going to be able to gather that back up? No, he's not. He's run the long way around. That's going to hurt him in terms of time, unfortunately, that last turn. And he has come across the line in a 1:01.2, but you got the feeling that it could have been so much better if not for that last turn.
Yeah, it really could have been. Had he got that last corner pulled up and turned into that apex nice and early, I think we would have seen Callum right up there knocking on the door of first and second place. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. So we'll wait and see what the next competitor is going to bring.
And the next competitor, Richard Brookfield, we were talking about him a little bit in qualifying, weren't we? Very, very quick throughout that session, and one of only 2 drivers to get down into the 1 minute point 9s. in that particular session. What's he going to be able to pull out for this lap? We haven't seen anybody yet run afoul of the off tracks or make any kind of mistakes. It's been very, very clean and very professional from all the drivers who've earned a spot in the shootout so far, and I wouldn't expect anything less from the number 41 of Mr. Brookfield, as he's just rolling around at the moment, just getting everything set and up to temperature, preparing himself as best as he knows how for one hard flying lap of this Tsukuba track. And I guess there's nothing for us to do but sit back and see what he's able to produce.
Yeah, that's right, mate. He's shown some really good pace in the practice sessions we've been having leading up to this event. He's a fast driver. He's got some really good racecraft, so I expect some good things out of Richard tonight as he turns in to the first corner. He's gone for a late apex. He's got some serious sideways, and he's actually gone to the grass, so that will invalidate his shootout lap, unfortunately. So that will put him into P10.
That's unfortunate. Just seemed as though the back started to get away from him, and he didn't really want to give up the acceleration and throw the lap away completely. But unfortunately, that seems to be exactly what's happened to him anyway, winding up back there. He's going to start P10 as things sit, and we've got Alan Rushworth, who was the fastest driver in the qualifying session, ready to roll as soon as race control calls him out onto the circuit. He'll be on his way, and we'll see what the fastest man in the qualifying session is actually able to produce for us in the shootout lap.
Yeah, it's a real shame on Richard's behalf there, mate. He's like I said, shown some great pace, but just as you stated, let the back get away just a little bit too much. And as you well know, Edward, you can driving on these simulators, when the back gets away from you, if you're not quick to get on top of it, it can certainly be too late by the time you do get a hold of it. So it's a shame to see him start out of P10, but I certainly think he's going to work his way through the field.
Yeah, it depends what sim you're on, I think. Lots been said and said about iRacing's tyre model in the recent past. We probably don't need to add to, but let's just say it's easier to catch slides on some sims than others, and certainly this is not one of the easier ones. And I think, unfortunately, Brookfield just caught out by that time around, so he's going to have a bit of a fight in his hands to come through from P10. And Alan Rushworth is out on track at the moment, just getting set for his lap. He was the fastest in qualifying. I guess logic should dictate that he'll be the fastest over the one lap as well, but it all remains to be seen. You've got to do the job when the time comes.
Right, mate. He's the fastest in qualifying. I guess he does have a little bit of benefit of that rubber getting down on the racetrack a little bit more over the past 9 competitors going through in front of him, but how much that's going to dictate the lap, we're only going to find out in a short amount of time when he crosses the start finish.
Yeah, he's taking a lot more sort of dragging the brakes and everything, and has gotten the power quite late, so I'm not sure if that's going to affect his speed as he comes through the final turn. Let's hope not. Certainly did put a lot of effort into warming up those front tyres, but he's crossed the line at good speed, around about 158 k's an hour. So he's done a good job there, and he's just got a beautifully braked in there to take a sort of mid to early apex. He uses all that exit curb there. That's probably the best run through turn 1 I've seen.
That was. He almost ran it wide on the exit of turn 1 there. I hope he doesn't get the off track. I don't think he would have, but so far it's looking pretty good, Edward, as he turns into the fast right-hander here.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see what kind of time this has produced, because I've not seen a tyre out of place so far. Hard on the brakes, coming down to probably the slowest turn on the track, and he just nips the apex there just beautifully.
Well there.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job so far, and if he can hold on, get this last turn right, this should be a very decent lap. Has looked very good. Looks can be deceiving. He's just had to make a little correction on the way in there, but he's brought it back in nicely. Just nicked the apex there using all the exit curb there. What's this lap going to be? It is a 1 minute 0.9 flat. That is pole position.
That is pole position. That is a great lap from Alan Rushworth there. A lot of pressure on the last guy heading out on the track, but he's kept himself together, and he's put himself onto the pole position, and by a reasonable margin when you consider how close the racing and the times have been so far tonight.
Yeah, certainly less than a tenth of a second, but almost a tenth of a second, and that just shows how close the racing has been. So we'll just run through the qualifying times in that session for you. So we've got Alan Rushworth on pole. He's going to be starting just ahead of Adam Gowans, who put in that fantastic lap earlier on. And then we've got Funslow and Dillon on the second row there. Garwood and Priest, row 3. Row 4 is going to be Bishop and Stride, and Logan and the unfortunate Richard Brookfield starting back there in a P10. So I believe, Otis, that we're going to jump out of this particular session now and take a little bit of a break while all the race gets server gets set up, gridded up, and we should be back for the start of race 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, Edward. We'll jump out of here just quickly. We'll go to a little bit of an ad, and we'll be back in here shortly to take you through to race 1 of the Tasmania Virtual Circuit Racing Championship.
Welcome back, everyone. So we're here for race one. Drivers just doing a little bit of a warm-up, few laps just to get used to the track conditions again. Used to everything on race level fuel and everything else. Got a couple of guys out there just trying out some practice starts and some other bits and pieces. Of course, getting the car off the line is going to be absolutely crucial to the outcome of this race. So we did see our top 10 shootout earlier on. We'll have a bit of a chance just to run through the full starting grid for you once this practice warm-up comes to an end, and that is going to be any tick of the clock now. Cars are going to start to grid up and get an idea of exactly where everybody is going to sit for the start of race one. Very quick race this time round. It's only 6 laps long, so that's going to be a very quick dash before we jump off into the second race. So just waiting now for the cars to start making their way to the grid, and we'll be able to run through the grid for you.
Yeah, this is going to be a good race, I think, Edward. It's a short race, like you said, nice little sprint race. It's going to be get yourself into a good position, get into a rhythm, and just make it through.
Yeah, certainly. So we've got a full grid here for you. We'll run through it very, very quickly. So we've got Rushworth on pole, Gowan second, Funslow and Dillon making up row 2, sorry. Row 3, Garwood and Priest. Row 4, Bishop and Stride. Then we go back to Logan, Brookfield, Hen, Caplice, Noble, Madden, Webster, Mann, Maxfield, Howe, Creed, Atkins, Heinrich, Burt, Walsh, Nesbitt and Butcher, making up the 25 car grid. So everyone gridding up right now. Rushworth has just got clear track in front of him, as has Gowans. Everybody else looking at a giant rear wing of those Mustangs. We are almost ready for a start, around about 10 seconds away by my clock. So get ready, everyone. All the drivers are doing the same, and we'll be underway very, very shortly.
These are an interesting car to follow, Edward. You get up behind one and you can't see a great deal.
We had someone jump the start. Funslow, I think it was, has jumped the start. He's going to wind up with some sort of penalty from that, I'm sure. And we are away. Good start. Very clean start from Rushworth off a pole. Comes across to block Gowans. Takes the run into the first turn. Everybody filing through turn 1. Fairly well behaved. A few guys 3 wide. Contact with Logan. Logan's been pushed way out wide. There's guys trying to avoid him. It's an absolute traffic jam. We've got one around in the background. I'm not sure who that driver is. Somebody just coming back onto the track. Ben Creed, that is, just regaining the circuit. He wound up facing the wrong way, but Rushworth is away, and he's got a decent lead already.
It does, Edward. I'm just watching a little bit further back in the pack on Gowans. He's just lost a little bit of ground to Bishop, but coming into the first hairpin on the back straight, he's getting some pressure from, I think it's Garwood behind him. It actually looks like he's going to make the pass. Not quite. I don't think he's quite going to drive out of it. So they're fairly well behaved on the first lap considering the size of the field, but let's see what happens.
Sorry, we've got one in the lane. Funslow looks as though he's got a penalty for that jump start. As we caught on the grid, he's having to come into the box and serve that penalty, which is going to put him right to the back of the grid. Disaster for him after such a great effort in qualifying.
Yeah, that's a real shame. He's got really good pace, and it's going to send him back a bit. Now the point system tonight actually does allow you to drop back a little bit, and you still don't end up way out of the game. So hopefully it doesn't see too much of a drama for him, but yeah, it's knocked his evening around, that's for sure.
All right, so we're having a look at the battle for second. We've got Aaron Dillon, who's managed to slide up there from 4th on the grid to 2nd in the race, done a very nice job there. And he has got for company right up behind him. There's actually a bit of a train forming. We've got Garwood up there right behind Dillon, just exploring everything, every single possible way past around the short circuit. And we've got another one who's oversteered off in the background. That's Adam Gowans, who's had a shocking first couple of laps, hasn't he? He's going to drop down all the way out of the top 10. He's just oversteered a little bit. He's managed to regather it, but it's going to put him way down the field, and that's had the effect of breaking up just slightly that little train that was starting to form behind Dillon.
It certainly has, mate. And Alan Rushworth seems to have checked out on these guys a bit. Second place, Aaron Dillon, he's doing his best to get up and get behind him, but with a little bit of pressure from Garwood behind him, he's going to have to keep a little bit of an eye on what's going on behind him and not let Garwood actually make a pass on him. But the gap seems to be getting a little bit bigger out to Alan Rushworth right out the front. Ryan
Well,
Priest up in fourth place is got a little bit of work to do, but he's looking good so far.
Well, you'd expect that gap to start to get bigger, wouldn't you? Because, of course, Dylan is driving. He's not only driving by his mirrors a little bit, but on the occasion when you have to go defensive, you're obviously compromising what is your ideal line, whereas Rushworth hasn't got any of that problem. He's just out there on his own using whatever part of the track he cares to use to put down the fastest possible lap time. So absolutely no surprise that he's managing to pull away from this group. But Dylan's actually moved out a little bit on Garwood. Garwood going defensive because he's got Priest all over the back of him. Priest got a much better run out of the last turn that forces Priest to the outside. He's going to try the over-under here. Of course, that's going to put him on the less preferred line coming into the next turn, and they all file back in single file. But I imagine if there's going to be some action come. Oh, Priest has got the hit in the back. Priest has actually been hit in the tail. He's been hit from behind into Garwood. I think that was actually Callum Bishop's gotten into the back of Priest, hit him into Garwood, and now Priest making a move down the inside. He's side by side with Garwood at the moment, two teammates there on the left. Priest on the right, and he's been escorted out onto the grass, manages to regain it. This is the kind of racing we thought we were going to get from these guys.
That's right. It's hard on. These guys are working overtime on the steering wheel, and I'm hearing a little bit of chatter in the background. There's a few people not too happy about what's going on, but this is certainly making for really good viewing for anybody that's watching.
Yeah, so Priest has had to fall in behind those two teammates in front. Although it looks as though Garwood getting sideways, that's going to compromise his speed. Priest is going to switch to the inside. Big run down the inside. Nothing Garwood's going to do about that, but the 41 there to the inside turn gets into the back of Priest as well.
Yeah.
He's been tagged. Priest has been tagged by everyone, and that sadly was
there's a big crash
fairly well unavoidable.
We've got Bishop and a couple others going around behind, which is actually called a safety car. They're actually going to call a yellow here and allow these guys to bunch back up by the sounds of it. There's all sorts of carnage going on in the background with the two Rick Motorsport cars getting a wallop into the wall.
Why would you not slow down? They've come through there at racing speed. That's absolutely bananas. That was only going to end one way. You've seen Priest get turned around.
Exactly
I think
right.
I didn't actually catch who. I think it was Brookfield actually who sent his nose down the inside of Priest, which kind of kicked that whole thing off. He's gotten away fairly well scot-free, and he was sort of putting his nose down the inside, sort of looking to make it three wide on a couple of occasions. Got into Priest, which wasn't surprising given the kind of gaps that he was looking for. Priest has gone around, and a whole bunch of guys are cannon into him, and unfortunately, while we had the cars sort of parked across the track, these other guys are coming there almost, it looked like race speed, and have absolutely just taken themselves out of contention. It makes no sense.
Yeah, they're having some problems with communication. I think they've been trying to call a yellow, but the lead car has just kept going. So it
looks like he slowed up now.
But we are on to the last lap of the race, I believe. So it might be a little too late. It should be interesting to see the results in this race.
It looks like Rushworth slowing down now, but it looks as though everyone's just going to slot in there behind him. Dylan pulling up beside him, and it's going to be pretty much as you were for finishing this race. So no one's allowed to overtake. That's going to allow Rushworth to cross the line, P1. Looks as though Dylan's going to take P2. And who's that there in third? Sam Stride managed to get up there into third place. And Garwood fourth, Brookfield fifth. That's your top five at the very least in a crazy first race of this series.
Yeah, so we can certainly say that's plenty of action going on in the first race. So hopefully we don't have as big a pile up in the second race, but there's definitely a bit going on. But a little bit of issues going on with the race control trying to get hold of the cars to pull them up, but. There you have it. There's the first race out of the way, and looks like we're going to jump over into the next race session and get back into it again.
All right, so we're going to go to another little break. We're going to get the second race sorted out and set up, and we'll be right back in it for race 2 coming up in just a few moments' time. Stick with us.
Welcome back, everybody. We're getting into the second race of the Tasmanian Virtual Circuit Racing Championship event here tonight. After what was a pretty exciting first race, if I do say so myself, I just want to take this little opportunity while the guys are out having a little warm-up, getting ready for the race, to thank a few of our sponsors. Big thanks to the pole position sponsor, Tas Autosport, for supplying us a little goodie for the pole position getter. Also to Pep Pizza in Kingston and Austin's Ferry. They jumped on board to help us out. Another big thanks to Motorsports Tasmania and the Hobart Sporting Car Club. Those guys have been a big help to getting this up and going and getting us some really good prizes to get on to our competitors here tonight. Performance Driving Australia, Mark Butcher, thank you very much, mate. Another sponsor that really quickly jumped on board to help us out. Yeah, look, we couldn't do something like this without these guys. Yeah, we're nearly set to go for race 2. Things are going to be pretty heated, I think, for the second race, Edward.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just kind of a little bit distracted. I kind of want a pizza now, but never mind.
I'll tell you what, mate. The best pizza in the south of the state, 100% comes from...
Let's not talk about it. I'm hungry.
You know what? I might even order one for delivery, because I think I'm close enough.
Give him a shout out, mate. He certainly can't deliver to me across here in South Australia, unfortunately. So
hey, look, it might just take a little bit too long to get to you.
Yeah, it could be a bit cold.
It's going to be cold.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, we have got drivers just doing a little bit of warm-up before race 2. It's there's always a little bit of a warm-up before these races. Just gives everybody a chance to get loaded into the server as well, overcome any little issues that they might have getting in. So they're all getting ready, set to go now for race 2. Going to be 8 laps here for this one, which is 2 laps longer than the last one, which was very, very short and sweet indeed. And we've got a few guys coming from the back of the grid as well, getting involved in a little bit of nonsense in the first race, unfortunately. So we're going to have some quick guys starting a little bit further down the back of the grid, trying to push their way through in the 8 short laps they have to get that done.
Yeah, I'm just watching the practice. I've just seen a really nice 360 from, I think, was Campbell Logan. I don't know if you caught up on that, Ed, but that was a great cat.
Yeah,
we've had another one right in front of him.
Yeah,
just got caught in the fence.
Yeah, if you're going to wreck it, do it in practice. But fortunately, it's not a 6-hour rebuild for the mechanics to do. It's just a quick reset back to the pits and you get your car back. So not the case in races, but certainly the case in these practice and warm-up sessions. So we're just about ready to go. So we're just going to have a look at our starting grid for this one very, very quickly. As soon as the cars start to form up on the grid, we're going to get an idea about where everybody's going to be sat. One thing that is absolutely certain, we're going to have Rushworth starting on pole. He took a dominant victory in that first race, and we'll just have a chance to run through the grid for you just about now. And we've got Aaron Dillon starting in second place from Stride and Garwood. Brookfield, very aggressive in that first race, wasn't he? He's starting there from 5th with Caplice in 6th place. 7th and 8th, Noble and Hand, then Priest and Mann, Howe and Madden. Butcher and Maxfield, 13th and 14th. And we've got Bishop and Webster, Funslow and Creed, Heinrich, Gowans, Adkins, Logan, Burt, Nesbitt and Walsh routing out your field of 25.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really good race. If the guys can keep on top of Rushworth once he gets off the start. I spoke to Alan just in the little break that we had, and he did say, I just got some clean air, and away I went. So it sounds like the guys are getting the engines up and about and getting ready to...
And we're away. Another great start from Rushworth. Moves across to cover off Dillon. We've got a great start himself. Sam Stride up along the outside. He's going to have to go the long way around in turn 1, isn't he? And everybody funneling into that first turn. Looks reasonably clean at the moment. Rushworth has got the entire track to play with. He's out on his own. And a bit of contact back in the pack, but looks reasonably clean this time around.
Looking pretty good. We've got one of the ILEC cars just jumping up the inside here. The two... we've got Stride, maybe? Stride and Garwood, 2 teammates, fairly close together back there in 3rd and 4th. But no, everything's looking really good for Mr. Rushworth, who has got himself a good little gap again. Start of the race with an absolutely blistering start, not an ounce of wheel spin. There's a bit going back in the background here between Brandon Madden, and I can't quite see who that car is, but it looks like Brandon may have missed a gear out of the hairpin on the back straight there.
Yeah, it looks like a couple of guys may have just made that mistake. Very easy mistake to make in these cars. Road gearbox, quick shifting, flat shifting, not really possible. So we've got Rushworth. He's out 0.7 of a second ahead of Aaron Dillon, who's actually keeping quite honest there at the front. Looks as though he's got some decent pace there. Looks as though Stride has run a little bit wide there and has actually allowed potentially his teammate Garwood to get up ahead of him. Yes, he has. And I believe that we actually had Madden off in the background as well. So he's actually just regained the course. And it looks as though he's round again because he's actually been turned. He was just regaining himself, Brandon Madden. Ben Creed came through from miles back. I'm not sure why he was so far back. But Creed's dived down the inside at turn 1 and turned poor Brendan again. So that's not been the opening stance to this race that he would have wanted, that's for sure.
I'm really enjoying this battle here between the two teammates, Stride and Garwood. There's a little bit of pressure on from just trying to see the number of the car who's at the back. Not sure if you can see that, Ed, but there's a little pressure on the rear car coming up. I believe that it is Stride.
Yeah, we've got Stride sitting there second behind his teammate, but Caplice is coming under a fair amount of pressure there from the car behind, which I believe is Stephen Noble, is actually putting a fair bit of pressure on that Mustang. No, it's Brookfield, sorry. Brookfield with Noble in behind, then Caplice, who's basically trying to work away as best as he can on the back of Stride, just running line astern with his teammate at the moment.
Callum Bishop just come up on the back of two guys that were side by side coming into that first hairpin there. So it's really good, close, clean racing here at the moment.
Yeah, as we saw from Bishop in the first race, he certainly wasn't backward in coming forward, was he? Getting involved in that little smash-up derby we had towards the end of the first race. He's side by side right now with Christopher Hen, who's gone right around the outside of him, thank you very much, taken that position away. And in there behind him, we've got Funslow, who's having to make defensive moves against Philip Howe. And he's going to run narrow into that last turn. He's going to have a look at Bishop as well, and he hasn't quite managed to get any overlap there. So they're going to run side by side on straight. Although, is that Priest? Priest off into the wall, big time out of the final turn. It is Dwayne Priest. He's smashed in the front of that Mustang. I don't think he can go any further. No, he's got it rolling. I'm just going to go back and have a quick look at what happened to him there. It looks like a simple case of getting up on the curb, getting some oversteer, overcorrecting and going hard into that outside wall. Really, really bad luck there for Dwayne Priest.
That's a shame to see. There's still a great battle going on up towards the front there. Rushworth seems to have just run away with the lead again in this race, but Garwood and Stride are still right on top of each other with Aaron Dillon in second place. And Brookfield following on, not far behind, chasing up that fourth position right now. Have you? What did you see in the Priest incident there, Edward? Is it self error there, or is someone forced it?
No, very much self error, unfortunately for Priest. He's just caught a little bit of the curb on the inside of that fast sweeping last turn, got a bit of air under the car, got a bit of oversteer, went to catch it, overcorrected straight to the outside wall. And speaking of people having problems with that turn, Mark Butcher in the 24 has gone very wide around there, and that's going to give Todd Maxfield the opportunity to send one up the inside. Not sure if he's actually got enough speed there. Maxfield sends it anyway, snatches the rears a little bit, but Butcher thinks better of it and gives that place away to Maxfield, not wanting to get involved in any contact at this stage. But there's certainly a big battle going on as well between Funslow, Bishop and Man just hanging on around the outside of Bishop there, just trying to hang on to that position at the moment. Bishop all over him, but he's coming under very, very close attention from Funslow. They're going to go side by side. Bishop looking up the inside there. He's done enough to stay ahead of Funslow. He hasn't quite done enough.
Funslow looks like he's got the run on him coming down the straight, though. He might just have enough overlap to get it done up here at the end of the straight. It looks like he's dropped back a little bit. He might have just had a little less drive, but Bishop comes into cover and does it well without causing any grief to Adam Funslow.
Yeah, and that, tell you what, Man's going to be happy to see that as well, because he was side by side with both of them for a moment there. But Bishop really diving in hard under the brakes, isn't he? He's really sending it in, and just about Man's driven wide there, and I think he's done that just to avoid the chance of being dive bombed in there by Bishop.
Yeah, there's a bit going on back there in the the front of the middle pack, I guess you'd call it, Ed. There's plenty of really good racing going on here in this second race. We are how many laps in are we? We're 6 laps in. We've got 2 to go, and Rushworth's still looking like he's sitting pretty up the front with no real dramas as long as he can keep it on the black stuff.
Yeah, Bishop's just sent one on the inside of Man just while you were talking there. Made a little bit of contact on the way through, and that has allowed Funslow to potentially have a look up the inside of Man. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get that one done. And of course, these guys are racing this hard for the back end of the top 10, so definitely wanting to secure a decent starting position for the next one. But yeah, certainly Rushworth out the front doing a sterling job. Dylan just getting a little bit sideways. He's certainly pushing very, very hard, but he's going to want to keep it smooth and not overheat those rear tyres because he's got the teammates Garwood and Stride bearing down on him as well. So he's definitely going to consolidate now. I think Rushworth a little bit out of reach for Dylan, but certainly he's got to focus on defending P2.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just trying to figure out who I'm watching here. I think it's Funslow coming up on one of the green and white cars there, mate. If you can jump over to that. There's quite a lot going on. It is, I believe it's Garwood, Stride and Funslow.
No, Funslow's a bit further down. He's actually battling with Man at the moment. He's all over the back of Tim Man.
Is it Steve Noble?
Noble is right in there. Big power slide actually onto the straight. It's Richard Brookfield. He's in there right behind Sam Stride and Garwood, the teammates, who've been running line astern since the beginning of this race and doing their best to keep Brookfield at bay. And Brookfield throwing that car around in the way that so few of the other drivers are managing to do. But whether or not that's actually helping those rear tyres stay intact, I'm not sure. But he's certainly got a good turn of speed in that Mustang at the moment, and is going to be wanting to try and force his way forward and break up that little teammate union he's got in front of him. He's on the throttle so early, Brookfield. He's throwing the back end of that car around. But I can't help but thinking on the last lap of the race, he may be just out of time here, as we see Alan Rushworth coming up to round this last turn and take his second win in a row. Although it does look as though Brookfield having a look down the inside of Stride.
He's got a
Stride hanging on around the outside.
Going to get it done. I think he's going to get it done, Edward. Is he going to get the run? Oh, I tell you what, I think Stride has just
held on,
made it across the line by not very much. How's that? 1/1000th of a second, Edward. Yeah. That is a good finish.
100th actually, but yeah, definitely very, very close. Yeah. And Alan Rushworth anyway taking that win again, 2.3 seconds ahead of Dylan, then Garwood, Stride and Brookfield rounding out your top 5. So I guess there's nothing to do now except for look forward to the third race, coming up. Time's flying by. And a little bit of a longer one this time. Tell us a little bit about it.
So the next race we have coming up, we have this will be a 10-lap race, so we have a little bit of time for these guys to get after each other. Obviously, we saw that 8-lap race. So I think they created some really good racing there with a little bit of time to get your tyres up to temp. The guys got into a little bit of rhythm and really got to stick it to each other there. So this 10-lap race coming up will be a double points race. So this is one of the most important races of the night. If you can get yourself into that top bracket, you're going to see yourself accumulating some really good points. So I'm really seeing it going to be something very difficult to get past Alan Rushworth tonight, Edward. I don't know how you're seeing, but he has some serious pace on these guys here tonight.
Yeah, he does look to have good pace, and I think a lot of the guys who were in a good position to challenge him did have a bit of trouble in that first race and have dropped down and have not really been able to make any impression on him because they're sort of stuck down in traffic. We saw some very fast guys involved in that shootout who unfortunately came to grief in that first race. So they're still trying to fight their way back through now. And Rushworth, he's taken 2 from 2, hasn't he? So unless the guys, the Dylan and Co can come up with an answer to his pace, then the 10 laps coming up is just going to be more of a playground for Rushworth.
Yeah, it seems to be quality lap after quality lap for Rushworth. I see he's, am I right in saying he did a 61 dead in that race? So race pace, out in the clear, no pressure. He's got it made for him there. But Aaron Dillon seems to be he's doing the best he can, but finishing 2 seconds behind him there. If he doesn't stay close to Alan in this 10 lap race, he's going to disappear pretty quick, I think. And unless someone can get up on that double points race, Alan's going to be very hard to beat tonight.
Well, of course, the other thing you've got to remember is being a 10-lap race, that tyre wear is going to come into it a little bit more. So it's all well and good to have that short run pace, which Rushworth definitely seems to have. But if he's taking more out of his tyres to do that, perhaps it hasn't hurt him in these first couple of short races. Maybe with a couple of laps longer, those tyres might start to die, and we might start to see the guys behind him sort of ranging back up to him in the closing laps. So all remains to be seen. It's all pure speculation, of course.
That's right. We'll find out very shortly. But right now, we're going to go to a very quick break again and get ourselves into that next race and see what the 10-lapper is going to bring us. Is the tyre we're going to play a part in it? We're going to find out very soon.
All right, welcome back everyone. After two fantastic races, we are ready now for race number 3. A little bit longer again, this one, as we mentioned, just before we actually crossed over servers. So 10 laps for this one, and it's a double points race as well. So a lot riding on this one. We've had Rushworth have everything pretty much his own way so far, starting from pole and winning both races. Is it going to be the same thing this time around? Not really sure. Longer race, a lot of different things can happen. But of course, it also gives a few extra laps for some of the fast guys buried down the order a little bit to try and work their way back through into a decent finishing position, grab some more points. Of course, double points on offer all the way down the grid. So it's well worthwhile. Every position you make is going to be worth that much more.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good race, Edward. I think this little bit of tyre wear coming in on top of it, I think it's going to make just a little bit of a difference. I don't think it'll be super different to what we just saw in the 8-lap race, but I certainly think it's going to have a bit of an effect, especially towards the middle of the pack, where the guys are working those tyres really, really hard against each other, fighting for position. So if Rushworth gets out to the front, mate, I'm really struggling to see someone getting a hold of him.
Yeah, certainly. He just seems to have that little couple of tenths over everybody else, doesn't he? And just put it down consistently with no errors whatsoever, so he can just move away out the front of the field. But there's certainly plenty going on behind him. I'd like to say that this longer race is going to lead to a little bit more patience from these guys, but I think we all know that that's not going to happen.
I think you're going to find that everyone's going to want to win this race in the first lap, Ed, just like every other one. So I'm certainly think we're going to see some a little bit of dive bombing, a little bit of let's get up there, let's get it done in the first lap, because as we said, the starting position for your car in these races really dictates how you go, and unless you can force a mistake on the car in front of you, or you're lucky enough for that tyre wear to affect them, it's a hard task to get around here.
Yeah, certainly. So we'll run through the grid very, very quickly. Rushworth, Dillon, Garwood, Stride, Brookfield made his way back up. Caplice, Hen, Noble, Bishop, Funslow, Mann, Webster, Logan in 13th. Howe, Heinrich, Maxfield, Burt, Nesbitt, Madden, Creed, Priest, Gowans, Walsh, Butcher, and Hoare making his first start tonight after having a couple of issues getting in for the previous races. But anyway, we are around about 10 seconds away from a start now. The drivers are going to be watching those lights absolutely intently, just bringing up the revs, getting ready, just making sure not to jump the start. We've seen that once tonight already, and we will be going any tick of the clock now. Revs rise, and we are racing now.
The wheel spin from Rushworth off the start line there, but how's the start on him? He's had another great start, even though he's had the car at a 30-degree angle on the lawn.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of most of the guys right behind him had bad getaways as well. Dillon's wasn't fantastic. It allowed Garwood to pull up right alongside him, and he's been able to hold that inside. Garwood just having a look to the inside. A few guys 3 wide back there. Bishop's involved back there as well, going two wide, 2 by 2 further back in the pack, and hopefully these guys are going to all sort themselves out. They're realising now that every single position is for double the points as it was before, as somebody comes flying through from the back. That's car number 4. Just trying to see, car number 4, Joel Heinrich's done fantastically well, and he's just made a huge jump up past a lot of drivers. And we've got somebody off in the background. I'm just trying to see who that is recovering. I think it's not Walsh, it's Liam Caplice actually, who actually turned around at the hairpin, and he's had a little bit of side-by-side with Mark Butcher, and they're going to go side-by-side into the final turn now.
Yeah, Richard Brookfield's had a great run there in the first lap up to 5th position. Chris Hand is up behind him in 6th, and Tim Mann sitting pretty there in P7 with Joel Heinrich just behind him. So a few guys moving further and further up the grid as the night goes on. It's certainly going to be interesting to see the end results by the time we get to the end of the year.
Yeah, Bishop's gone around in the background there as well. I'm just having a look at what's happened to him. It looks as though he's been dive bombed by not 1 but 2 cars, and then turned around by Priest. Unfortunately, Priest copied damage for the 3rd race in a row. But I just want to make mention of Joel Heinrich's first lap as well. He's gone from 15th to 8th on that first lap, and he was driving past some guys. I'm not sure if they checked up or whatever, but he came flying past them like he was in a different formula. It was amazing.
Yeah, he's had a really good last first couple of laps. Beg your pardon. He's looking very good. We've got was it Brookfield coming up on stride here? Really putting the pressure on Sam Stride. So Brookfield's got really good pace. Sam Stride's had good pace all night, but Brookfield is all over that mid. He looks like he might be setting himself up to try and make a pass.
Yeah, I was just having a look as well. We mentioned at the top of the show about lap traffic in these longer races, didn't we? And Alan Rushworth at the moment, he's got a 1 second lead over Dylan, who's keeping him reasonably honest at the moment. But just up the road, Philip Howe is just recovering. It looks as though he hasn't had the best start to this race. And he's going to be, the leaders are going to be catching him sooner rather than later. So that's going to be something additional for Rushworth to deal with. And a factor we didn't speak about at the start of the race, but we did speak about at the start of the show, about these longer races bringing lap traffic into play.
Yeah, I think by the time we get to lap 7, 8, I think we're going to really start coming across that problem. It's I think it's, especially if we have any incidents in the field. But here comes Dylan, has just made a pass on Rushworth and just a tiny bit of contact there. That was seriously close, but Dylan has completed the pass and taken first place. I'm not sure what happened with Rushworth there. Did you see him run wide, or is he just...
He's missed a shift, I think.
Dylan will make this car the widest Mustang in the world to keep Rushworth at bay here for this double points race. So really well done there to capitalise on a small mistake from Rushworth there.
Yeah, Rushworth just couldn't get a gear. I've just had a look back on board with him, and just coming out of that last turn, he just could not get a gear for whatever reason. I'm not sure what's taken place there, but unfortunate for him, but great for the race to see somebody else up front. Aaron Dillon sitting there in first place now. Now, as you mentioned, Dillon is going to want to make that Mustang as wide as he can. And keep in mind, if he does that, you've got two guys behind which have been able to run at Dillon's pace all night so far. Garwood and Stride, they've all been very, very close in pace. So if Rushworth isn't able to have an easy move done, he may actually come up against some opposition from his two teammates behind.
Yeah, that's right. Would they? As soon as you start applying pressure to another car, and that car's going to start covering, as we know, that is going to pull the field up drastically. So you're going to end up with pressure. These guys obviously got a reasonable gap at the moment, but as soon as they start fighting for position, that is going to slow them up big time, and they're going to come under some serious fire from the guys behind.
Yeah, and if we're having a look at just basing the what we know so far from the first two races, is that you'd expect Rushworth to have the pace advantage over Dillon. That does appear to be the case at the moment, but it's not a big pace advantage, is it? So Dillon is he's sitting there at the moment. He's going to really want to make sure that the two things that you must absolutely do when you're defending is, first of all, make sure that you know where the overtaking points are on the circuit, and make sure that you are strong on the important parts where it's good to get a good exit and put enough space between yourself and the car behind prior to that overtaking zone. And he's done that there, but he has gotten the throttle a little bit keenly there, got it sideways. Rushworth had a big look down into turn one. I expect he's going to have another big look down in here. Dillon takes the narrow entry there, as he's entitled to do, covers off that inside line, and all the while they're catching up to the lapped car of Howe.
Yeah, that's right. It's certainly going to be interesting to see how this plays out with Rushworth coming in. What he has to be mindful of, obviously, is poking his nose in where it doesn't quite belong, and in turn, if he has to get on the brake a little bit too long, it's going to allow Dillon to have himself a little bit of a gap in front. So he really has to pick where he's going to make his passing manoeuvres here, because, like I said, if he gets in there a little bit too early and has to get on the brake because it's not going to work, he's going to give himself more of a gap.
Yeah, definitely. And keep in mind that the car of Howe that's actually up is going to be the first one to go a lap down. It certainly seems so anyway, as Rushworth has a big dive.
Sorry, Rushworth, yes. He's got it done too. It's just, how's that nice, clean racing from the guys up the front. That is impressive to see. Dillon saw him coming, gave him the room, and there you go. And hopefully we don't see Rushworth run away with this, but it may end up...
Yeah, I think that Dillon might be a little bit annoyed with himself there, that he didn't actually cover off that a little bit more. I'm not sure that he expected Rushworth to have a go. I'm not sure why, given how late he braked the previous lap. I mean, when he tried to send it down the inside in the previous lap, he sort of showed his hand to Dillon. He made it obvious what his what his capability was under brakes then. So, you would think that Dylan may have covered that off a little bit stronger. I guess the one redeeming factor for Dylan, which was what I was about to say before that move was made, is that the car they're coming up to lap there, Howe, is actually Dylan's teammate. So he may be potentially called into play to help out Aaron Dillon in his battle for the lead.
Yeah, I think it does seem to look like Dylan may have burnt his tyres up a little bit, Edward. He's got the car behind him in, I believe is that Garwood behind him? Yeah, I think he's got him coming up pretty heavy on the back of him, so Dylan may have actually cooked those front tyres up. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out.
Well, if he hasn't cooked the fronts, he's certainly cooked the rears, because the back end of that lad's Mustang is sliding around quite a lot out of some of the heavier acceleration zones on the track. And he's lost a fair bit of time now. Rushworth just driving away, and he's catching up. Lap traffic is going to come into play very, very shortly. Philip Howe just sitting there in front of our leader, Alan Rushworth, at the moment, and it looks as though there's around about a second gap, possibly a little bit more, back to this pack that's forming behind Dylan. We've got Garwood there, then we've got another two.
Sorry to interrupt there. The one of the Eilert cars just thought about going up the inside of Stride there, but just pulled out, just got on the brakes early. So there's a lot going on just behind the leaders. There's plenty of action just back off the front of this pack at the.
Yeah, certainly. There's a good battle going on for second. There's a good battle going on for fourth. There's a good battle going on for sort of seventh, eighth, ninth. The cars running there together as well. There's battles going on up and down the field. Brookfield really putting the blowtorch onto the back of Sam Stride at the moment. He seems to have a lot more pace than Stride does, but at the same time, I'm having a look at Garwood. Garwood having a look at the back of Dylan. A little bit of contact there between the two as well. And I think Howe's just going to sit there on the outside. No, he's going to back out of it and let them all go through. I would have thought that perhaps he would have sat on the outside of Garwood and actually made him take that tighter line into the turn, give him a bit less track to work with, and therefore help out his teammate. But he's actually let Garwood go. Good sportsmanship there at the very least.
Yeah, it is great sportsmanship, Edward. That to see that's what it's all about here, though. I mean, yeah, we're racing for a few little prizes here and there, and our sponsors have been kind enough to give us those. But these guys are showing real sportsmanship, allowing the lead cars through, allowing them to get their race done, and here we are on the last lap. And I tell you what, throughout the field, there's some seriously good racing going on.
Yeah, there is. It's kind of hard to know where to look at times. There's so much going on. And after all of that, the results sheet probably is going to have a very similar look to the results sheet of the first and second races. But at the same time, that doesn't tell the full story, does it? There's been so much happening, especially with that battle for the lead there. But Alan Rushworth, once again, has stamped his superiority over the rest of this field, making that small mistake, unable to get a gear there, losing the lead, regaining it, and he's going to come out of the last turn, and he's going to take 3 from 3, and most importantly, victory here in this double points race.
Yeah, that's right. This double points race is, as we said earlier, it is the most important race on this format. If you can get that double points race secured, that puts you 6 points above the car in front of you. So anyone that doesn't know the point system, the lead car is 55 points. The next car behind goes to 52. So there's a 3-point gap from the lead to second, and from there on it drops down in 2-point increments. So if you can get the double points race victory, all of a sudden you're 6 points in front of the car in front. So it's an interesting result there. As we saw, Dylan had a really good run there, but just couldn't quite hold off Alan Rushworth. So just remembering, we have the double points, not the double points, we've just had that. We have the reverse grid race coming up next. So if you want to see some seriously good racing, we have the quickest guys in the field coming from the rear, and they're going to be charging hard to accumulate a few more points.
And let's not forget as well that we've got some guys who have showed some great pace in qualifying. I'm talking about guys like Funslow, guys like Gowans, guys like Callum Bishop, who were very, very quick in qualifying, that have finished right down the order here. So these guys have got a lot of pace in those cars, at least as far as qualifying was concerned, they certainly did. Have come to grief in the races to a certain extent, but finishing as far down as they have, that's going to put them right at the front of the field. So it's not like all the fast guys are starting at the back. We've got Rushworth starting at the back. We're going to have Dylan, Garwood, Stride, those guys all starting at the back. But we've got some very quick guys who are going to be starting up front as well. So I think that Rushworth is going to certainly have his work cut out for him, get all the way through the field and catch up to those quick guys who are going to get the chance to sprint away.
You're exactly right, Edward. Having those fast guys in qualifying right at the back of the field is going to prove to be very, very difficult for those guys that have finished high up in these first couple of races to actually keep up with them. So Gowans, he's really dropped off towards the rest of the racing. I think he got caught up in a few unfortunate incidents, and it's really put him towards the back. Same with Dwayne Priest. So those guys are going to be guys to watch for the win in this reverse grid race. So here's to hoping we have a nice, clean race between everybody in this reverse grid. Obviously, as you'd know, Edward, these reverse grid races certainly have a tendency to create some interesting racing, I guess, is one word you could put it in.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, this is a tight little circuit, isn't it? And it's one of those tracks where it can be a little bit difficult to find places to overtake. There are overtaking places on it. It's just a matter of whether or not you can sort of identify those and be strong enough in the right places to get it done. And with so many cars to overtake, if you're one of the fast guys starting at the back of the grid, with so many cars to overtake, you've got to pick those moments again, 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 and again. And it's also really dependent on whether the guy that you're trying to overtake, how hard he wants to fight you and things like that. So certainly a lot of unknowns and a lot of potential for various things to happen going into this next one.
Right, mate. I think I quite enjoy the fact that a track like this being one of those more difficult tracks to pass on, you've really got to either set your pass up really well or allow hope, I should say, that the car in front makes a small mistake. But when it comes from the guys from the back, which are obviously going to be the quickest guys, trying to come through the slower cars in front, you're really going to have to rely on the guys in front of you, knowing that you're there, presenting yourself with a reasonable opportunity, and not making a silly move, because a silly move just to make up one spot is going to put you 10 spots back on a track like this. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I've seen a fair bit of that so far, in this race, haven't we, you guys? Sort of probably just overestimating their braking capabilities a little bit, especially in such big, heavy cars like this, and unfortunately coming to grief. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
What it makes for Edward is brilliant racing and really, really good viewing. So we're going to jump to another quick break here in the first round of the Tasmanian Virtual Circuit Racing Championship. But we'll be back very shortly with the much anticipated reverse grid race that is dedicated to the one Ian Beachy, who passed, unfortunately, early hours of this morning. So we'll pay our respects to Ian in this race, and we'll enjoy some really good close racing. We'll see you soon. JP's going to bang a picture up, so we'll go. Welcome back, everybody. We are here for the final race, the trophy race, if you will, the reverse grid here at Tsukuba. Now, the track temps are up pretty high in this session. Expect to see the times a little slower, the tyre wear a little more prominent, and some action is going to be 100% happening. So the final race here tonight is a reverse grid race. These guys have battled it out all night tonight, getting themselves in prime position for each race following on, and all of a sudden the tables are turned and they will be starting in the opposite of where they are. Edward, what do you think is going to happen here? Do you think we're going to see the front runners get through, or do you think we're going to see the guys at the back get moving?
Carnage. It's what we're going to see. I think that definitely those guys like Rushworth and Dylan who've had really good nights so far are not going to want to spoil it with a bad finish, and they're going to try and force their way through. But we've seen a lot of guys sort of towards the front. Brookfield springs to mind, Bishop as well, who've been very, very aggressive so far. And I don't think that's going to change when they're fighting their way back through from the back end of the field. And I think it's combined with the low grip surface that we've got here now. Obviously, it's warmed up a fair bit. 63 degrees on track, so very very low grip. I think it's going to make for it's going to be a battle of survival, I think.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Edward, and I think we should touch on the fact at the moment this race, the trophy race, if you will, the reverse grid race here at Tsukuba tonight, the fourth race in the Tasmanian Virtual Circuit Racing Championship, will be dedicated to Ian Beachy, who, as we mentioned earlier, unfortunately passed in the early hours of this morning. We'd like to give our sincere condolences to Adam, Paul, and the rest of the family, the rest of the Beachy family. Ian was a much-loved, very, very, very well-respected member of the Tasmanian motorsport community. He was actually inducted into the Tasmanian Motorsport Hall of Fame this year at the annual CAMS dinner, or I should say Motorsports Australia dinner. Yeah, just a lifelong devotion to motorsport for Ian, whether it was speedway, circuit racing. He was actually one of the founding fathers of HQ Racing, which started out some 30-odd years ago here in Tasmania and is still going strong with grids, sometimes in excess of 40 to 50 cars throughout the country. So, as I said, respects to and condolences to the Beachy family. Ian will be sorely missed by everybody involved in Tasmanian motorsport and anybody that ever knew him. He was one of the better blokes you'll ever come across. So rest easy, old fella. We're gonna move into the final race and pay our respects with some hard, close racing to the one and only Ian Beachy. Here we're gonna see some fast cars at the back, some cars that are slightly off the pace at the front, and I think we're going to see some serious action and possibly some carnage, Edward.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, just touching back on Ian Beachy, what a fantastic legacy he leaves behind, having been one of the founders of the HQ series that has been so fantastically successful over such a long period of time. So, yeah, I think everybody who's enjoyed that series owes him and the others organisers a fair debt of thanks. But certainly we're going to hopefully put on just as entertaining race in a few minutes' time. We've just got a moment's time, I should say. We're going to run through the grid. We've got Rick Burt starting off pole position ahead of Nesbitt, Gowans, Funslow and Howe. Then going back a little bit further to Bishop, Butcher, Creed and Maxfield. Then Walsh, Logan, Hawke, Caplice, Madden, Webster, Priest, Noble, Heinrich, Mann, Hen, Brookfield, Stride, Garwood, Dillon, and right at the back, Alan Rushworth, the winner of all three races so far tonight. Let's see how far up the grid he can get. We're about 30 seconds away from start.
Even on Adam Gowans, Adam Funslow, Callum Bishop, those guys are going to be seriously fast up towards the front of the field tonight, Edward. They've had an ordinary run leading up to now, but they qualified quite well, and we know they've got some real pace. So towards the middle of the pack, Brandon Madden looks like he may be a chance to get something done. Dwayne Priest is a little bit towards the back of the middle, but as we hear some engines start to rev up, I think we're pretty close to a start.
And we are racing for the final time tonight. A bit of a delayed getaway for a couple of the guys there, but I think that Rick Burt's got away sort of satisfactorily, but he's been swallowed up, hasn't he, by Nesbitt there. Looks like Nesbitt coming through in that Valvoline number 42, and Adam Cowan's going side by side with him. He was one of the faster guys in qualifying, wasn't he? And he's going to see this reverse grid as a golden opportunity to get a race win, and he slots across in front.
Bishop. Contact back on between Bishop and one of the RBMM cars. Oh, one's gone around, and Bishop's been tangled up in along with another lad's car.
Yeah, that's absolutely shocking. It's taken Priest as well.
Which is a real shame, running the Ian Beachy livery tonight. Going to see that taken out so early.
Well, that was unfortunate because that car that got spun around should have really held the brakes, and he's allowed it to roll back across the track, which has unfortunately taken Priest out. But we've seen that a fair bit tonight from Bishop. These sort of ambitious moves that haven't paid off, and that's yet another one, unfortunately. So he's going to be carrying damage. Rick Burt is absolutely, his car is destroyed. It's crabbing back to the pits really, really quite badly. I don't think he's going to get that back to the pits at all. Adam Gowans leading the way from Funslow, Nesbitt, Caplice there having a little bit of a battle with, I believe it was, it is still Nesbitt having a battle there with him. But Rick Bird, our pole sitter, is, they might have to throw a yellow for him because he is trying to crab that car all the way back to the pits. That is the most damaged Mustang that you've ever seen in your life. And he's about to go a lap down already, and this is a bit hazardous.
Yeah, it's certainly not ideal, is it? But Adam Gowans has still got the lead. He's slowly losing it to Funslow. He's coming into about 1.5 seconds. He's closed the gap from about 1.8. So behind him, Liam Caplice is about 1.5 seconds too. So there's a bit of leeway for Gowans to get himself into a rhythm and get himself moving on this super hot, not very grippy surface we have here at Tsukuba Raceway. So Philip Howe in 5th position is just losing a little bit. Oh no, he's actually climbing back on Nesbitt. So Nesbitt has dropped a couple of spots. Liam Caplice is up 10 positions, mind you.
Yeah, and I was having a look at Rushworth as well. He's we keep an eye on him, obviously, having been so dominant tonight. He is all the way up to 17th position, but he's carrying a little bit of damage on the front of that Mustang as well, but he's certainly making his presence felt as he tries to work his way through. But Aaron Dillon, he's done even better than that. He's up in 15th position, a couple of places ahead, and that car looking just about, a little bit of a wriggle in it, but apart from that, it's clean as a whistle.
Yeah, some more heavy movers in the pack, Edward. Richard Brookfield's up 12 positions with Adam Garwood also up 13. Sam Stride's up 10 places. These guys are really having a crack at getting up to the front of this grid. So Gowans is still in front, but he's lost half a second almost to Adam Funslow. Caplice in 3rd place is 2 seconds off Funslow. So, I mean, anything could happen from here on out.
Yeah, and I think I saw Butcher. Yeah, it was Butcher going around in the background there. He's just basically looped that. Doesn't look like there's a lot of damage there on that car, so he looks like he'll live to fight another day as he rounds up the car. It's Aaron Dillon, actually. He's picked up a huge amount of damage from something. He was, I'm assuming, he finished right up the front in every race so far, and he got involved. He was actually involved in that little issue with Butcher. Butcher has got turned around by Stride, and Dillon's got caught in that and picked up a huge amount of damage. So he's trying to limp his way back to the pits now. That's really unfortunate for somebody who's figured so strongly in this event up to this point.
It's a real shame to see a car like that. I haven't had a look at the replay yet, but remember I told you that Stride likes to get in and get the job done, so I don't want to condemn him right now, but it'd be interesting to see whether he's gone for an aggressive move like Stride he enjoys to do, and may have made a bit of contact.
Oh right.
So far, Gowans is still taking the lead now. He's lost a little bit more time, about 3/10 to Funslow. Funslow's starting to catch him up, starting to put a little bit of pace on, but so far so good. Liam Caplice has fallen back a little bit to Funslow and Gowans, so...
A mistake by Gowans. He's run really wide there, and he's really given Funslow a great opportunity.
A great chance to get up on top of him. on top of his rear bumper here. Now this is where the racing starts getting interesting.
Yeah, I was about to say just the fact that, you know, this is the last race of the night, so if you're going to win one and you haven't won one yet, which nobody but Rushworth has, this is your chance. This is your last chance to actually get a victory. And Gowan just maybe succumbing a little bit to the pressure that Funslow is pushing on side by side now. Funslow with that outside run, he's going to try and just, not over under, but just get on the throttle a little bit earlier, which he certainly
got a little bit of sideways there, so I think it's cost him a tiny bit of time. Had he got that car out of their square, that switchback may have worked out really well for him coming down that back straight.
Yeah, unfortunately he didn't. That's going to heat those rear tyres up as well, and anybody who's driven these cars will understand that managing the wear on those rear tyres is certainly something that you need to master. Gowan, I imagine, is going to want to go defensive down here into turn one. He does take some shallow of an entry, just puts Funslow off a little bit, I think. He had to run a little bit deeper in there than he may have actually wanted to do on the way in, but certainly nose to tail for the lead at the moment. It's well on for this one.
I think you find, Ed, with the turn one, if you can get in there, you don't have to be as defensive as you think. You can run that shallow line, which will put the car behind you off a little bit, unless they really want to risk some serious damage going up on a really small gap, because that corner can be run with a super shallow line and still get a really good drive out. But as we speak, Funslow has come out around the outside. Is he going to get it done? Is he going to get the switchback to work this time? Has he got the drive out of the corner? I'm not sure that he does, but he's on the bumper of Gowan, so he's going to move across to the inside and cover that line, but is he going to give him the room to go around? I don't think he is. I think Funslow's going to wait to try and switch back again onto the straight.
Gowan, I'm not sure exactly what the regulations are regarding defending, but certainly move to the inside, then move back to the outside, as Funslow did it almost in reaction. So, but I think that'll basically play for now. I'm not sure if you want to do it too many more times or he might get served up, but certainly it looks as though Funslow carrying a little bit more speed than Gowan at the moment. But Gowan's just got to place his car correctly. Perhaps he can try a few of those little tricks like backing him up on the apex where Funslow's got nowhere to go, and then accelerating out and trying to establish a little bit of a gap that way. Got to focus on his exits heading down to the overtaking zones. We made mention of that earlier on, didn't we? So he's really got to focus hard now. Always seems as though Funslow gets much better drive out of that particular section of the track, but Gowan always runs down the inside there. Funslow forced to go to the outside, forced to look to this switchback. He got caught out, Funslow there. He got on the power nice and early, but he couldn't drive through Gowan. Gowan's car was exactly where he didn't need it to be, and he had to back out of the throttle again. So that's going to kill his momentum, and he's not going to have a chance into this final turn. And well, we're on lap 7 now of 10. This race has flown by. He hasn't got long to get this done if he's going to do it.
Yeah, that's right, mate. He's come on to that back straight, Gowans, and he's done exactly what he needed to do, is pull Funslow up out of that last corner and beg your pardon, the second last corner. He's just given himself enough room to keep him at bay. But as we come here to the first hairpin, Funslow has some serious pressure on Gowans. He's all over the back bumper. Gowans pulls out, has reasonable drive. Funslow is still all over the bumper of him. There's obviously no passing chance here, but as they come into the next hairpin, where Funslow is strong, he usually comes out the outside here. Is he going to try it? He is going to try it again, but Gowans is going to keep him out nice and wide. He's going to run through. Has Funslow got the drive this time? It looks like he's hard onto it, and here he comes.
Yeah, Gowan's doing a good job of just breaking Funslow's momentum at the critical point there. But weaving back and forward like that on the straight is not going to win him any friends, but he's not here to make friends. He's here to win this last race. So he's just trying all he can. This is critical corner to get right if he's going to hang on to the lead. He may need to go defensive here. I think you find him switch down to the right-hand side of the track. He does. He takes that shallower entry. Funslow immediately switches to the more traditional line, tries to carry a bit extra speed through the apex of the turn, doesn't quite get it done this time. But we're coming up on the section of the track where Funslow is very strong. Gowan so far has the measure of it.
I think you'll find, Edward, the way he moves into the last corner, he's not moving under braking. You'll notice as he moves again, there is no brake light coming on. He's not chopping off the nose of Funslow, so I think race control let him go. But Funslow's got a very good run here, coming into that hairpin, heading into the back straight. Looks like he's got a brilliant run up the inside. Is he going to get past him? He has got overlap on him. He may have got himself. No, he hasn't. He hasn't. Oh, he's going to go the outside. And this is the racing we've been waiting to see all night.
Yeah, definitely. Gowan's just managed to pick up the throttle a little bit better, not having to quite take such a tight line. But Funslow's going to try and do exactly the same thing to Gowan. He
Oh,
goes right out, and
oh
he's
no,
taken
he's
him.
taking out the leader. Oh no! I mean, would you have picked that coming, Edward? It's been such a clean, good race between those two. It just looks like he's picked up the throttle a little bit too early, touched the grass, and it's ruined the race.
Am I going to be smart and say yes, I did?
I mean, you could call that. That's for sure. That was wow. That's a real game changer, isn't it?
And Caprice, all his Christmases have come at once. He's inherited the lead through just basically driving. Hasn't had to make any moves, just drive straight through the middle like bowling a 7-10 split right between those two wrecked Mustangs on the side of the track. And he's got old Wrecking Ball Bishop up there behind him. I'm sure that he's going to be hoping he can keep enough distance there to be safe from one of these optimistic braking manoeuvres.
Yeah, let's hope the rest of the race. We are on the last lap, and I mean that was one of those into the last lap manoeuvres going for the win, but look, it hasn't worked out. Unfortunately, it's caused some grief on Adam Gowan's part, who drove a brilliant race leading up to then. It's a real shame to see both of those guys in the position they're in, but I mean, these things happen, don't they?
Yeah, very, very unlucky there for Gowans. I mean, going and having a bit of a look at the incident, he really did nothing wrong. He was holding the inside line. He had Funslow to the outside, and he was just sort of minding his own business. He probably escorted. Did he even escort him a little bit wide? There's no reason to think that he would have had to give him room. No, he gave him a ton of room. And unfortunately, Funslow's just got out into the grass, overcooked it, and just came back across the track at exactly the wrong moment for Gowan. So very unfortunate for him, but great news for our winner, Liam Caprice.
Yeah, Liam Caprice, like you said, all his Christmases, beg your pardon, have come at once. That was great racing between those two. It's just unfortunate that it ended up like that. And those were two guys we said to keep an eye on, wasn't it, Edward? We said those guys were quick in qualifying, and they really needed to be kept an eye on in this. But Liam Caprice has come away with the win. That's kudos to him. He's stuck in, never made a mistake, and unfortunately the guys did, and he was able to get through.
Yeah, certainly. So he takes the win ahead of Callum Bishop in second place. Brookfield comes home third after all of that, with Garwood in fourth. And those guys were battling up the front, weren't they? They worked their way all the way through. Speaking of working their way through, Stride fifth, House sixth, and Rushworth seventh position. So they've done a tremendous job to work their way all the way through from the back of the field. All of those guys started back in the 20s. And then, of course, we've got Gowans there, who managed to recover to P8. He still won't be happy with that, but it's still a good finish. And then we got Logan, Hen, Walsh, Priest, unfortunately seen getting involved in something earlier on in the race. I don't think he got to have one clean race tonight, and there was a lot of it that was really his fault, was there? So we've got Stephen Noble there in 13th position, then Creed, Mann, Dillon. Aaron Dillon, unfortunately, had such a good race up until this one. Comes home as the last car in the lead lap in P16. And then we're going back to our lapped runners, Funslow, who so nearly had the win. And then we've got Webster, Hoare, Maxfield, Heinrich, who had some connection issues in that race as well, I believe. And then we have Rick Burt, Brandon Madden, Mark Butcher, and James Nesbitt, unfortunately DNFing in that particular race.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, how's their performance from Richard Brookfield and Adam Garwood? They've come from 18 and 19 positions behind. Sam Stride, 17 positions. Alan Rushworth made himself up 18 positions. That is some serious driving. To get through a field of that many cars on such a short, tight little track, that's some serious driving, mate. I'm impressed. And Liam Caprice to come from 12 positions back to take the win. He's done a very good job. Hopefully we can jump into the green room and have a quick chat with a few of those guys that have made the podium. That was really a race worth watching.
Yeah, and one worthy of Ian Beachy, I hope, being the race that was laid out in tribute to him. So yeah, fantastically exciting racing there. So we've got a couple of guys just making their way into the green room. Just want to make sure that they are completely ready to come in here for a quick chat. So we just might give them a moment to collect themselves. But yeah, certainly. I mean, you mentioned about the drive through the field that a lot of these guys have had, and it's worth mentioning as well the way in which we said how close these the times were in qualifying and how close the performance was across the board. So to make up 18 positions in 10 laps is fantastic. It's just really, really good. So yeah, it's great for those guys. I think everybody out there would have had a decent amount of fun tonight, which at the end of the day is what it was all about. And yeah, Caprice coming away with the win. And I haven't got the points in front of me, but I imagine that Rushworth would be quite an easy and quite a deserving points winner after this one too.
Yeah, we're just going to wait just a little bit of time just to grab the points for tonight. I think you'll find the guys up the front all night are obviously going to be the ones up there. But I tell you what, Edward, like you said, in respect to Ian Beachy, that racing there was Ian Beachy all over, mate. That was hard, good, close racing. I mean, it just got unlucky towards the end with the two guys at the front, but mate, that was some great racing. I'm really happy to have been someone that got to witness that. Just taking a look who's in the green room right now, we might have a chat to, if we can, the winner of the feature race we just had. Then we'll have a chat to Liam and just see his thoughts on the race.
It just looks as though he might be muted at the moment, so I'm not sure if it might be an idea to bring him in yet. We might want to have a chat to one of the other guys just while Liam gets himself sorted out, because it looks as though his microphone is muted.
I beg your pardon, mate. Sorry. If Callum Bishop's in there, we might just go and have a quick.
Oh, he's actually just unmuted, so we might just grab him in, yeah.
Oh, we'll grab Liam. Yep, let's go for it. We'll go and have a chat.
Fantastic, and I'll let you do the honours on this one, Otis.
No worries, thanks, mate.
Okay.
Hey guys.
Hey, Liam.
How you doing, mate? You're managed to inherit yourself a first position there, mate. We're live on the SimShed broadcasting here. We'll have a chat and hear about your race tonight. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I don't know about that. If Scotty McLaughlin thought he did at Bradbury a couple of weeks ago, I think I just topped him. That was a bit wild. I just sort of tried to stay out of the way, and I had a bit of pace, but this track was weird. I've never ever seen a track that hot, so it was like you were driving on ice. But it was good fun. It's good fun.
Yeah, tell you what, mate. That track, as a few guys pointed out, was extremely hot. I mean, it must get hot over there in Japan by the sounds of it. But look, it was a bit of a midday style race. The heat was up. You just had to look after your car, and fortunately for you, those guys they just happened to tangle. Did you see the incident in front of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he was going to have a crack, like he was waiting there. So I was slowly catching, but I wasn't going to get them to the line. And I thought, we'll see what happens. And clearly, they wanted to go for the win.
Yeah, look, man, they were going for it, hammer and tong, mate. They really got into it. But look, congratulations on the win. You've scored yourself a nice little voucher, grab yourself a few pizzas, and yeah, good drive, mate. You've got yourself a nice little victory to the tally.
Lovely work. Thank you for putting this together, guys. Good fun night. So definitely should be around too.
Yeah, it was a pleasure having you guys involved, mate. We'll look to getting a second round in the books, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you very much. See ya.
All right, so that was Liam Caprice, our winner of the feature race. So what we might actually do now, we've just had the points come through, and I guess in an announcement that'll surprise absolutely nobody, Alan Rushworth has actually taken out the points for tonight. So it might be a good idea to grab Alan in and have a bit of a chat to him about how his 4 races went. Alan Rushworth, Edward Foster here in the Social Broadcasting commentary booth, mate. You come away with the points win tonight. Fantastic drive all round, I think. Can you just talk us through the night as it unfolded from your perspective?
Yeah, had a pretty good start. Quality was pretty good. Track temps in the sort of first couple of races were good to handle and nice grippy sort of launches. Got away well. in each race. So that was pretty nice, you know, to cover the inside, and then just from there, just try and maintain a bit of a gap. Last race was a bit interesting though. The reverse grid, trying to battle our way through, and a bit of biffo here and there, but had a good time, a good challenge, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, certainly making your way up from 25th on the grid, dead last, to P7 over 10 laps is something that we'll come to in a minute, exactly how you managed to pull that off. But I just wanted to actually talk about the third race because you were leading away and you looked as though you were going to replicate your performance from the first two races. And then it appeared as though you had some trouble getting a gear coming out of the final turn. Is that what happened where Aaron Dillon managed to get by you?
Yeah, actually, well, I grabbed fourth just about 3/4 way down the back straight, and I just quickly go back to third there, and then I went back to third and didn't get third. So I was actually around the entire last corner. I was just in neutral, and that's why I drifted out so wide. I just had no drive in it, and I didn't actually get the gear back into third until about the start line. So by that time, it was beside me, and I was in all sorts of trouble.
And obviously, you did manage to get that position back with a fairly aggressive move down there into turn one. I mean, was that something that you were sort of looking to size him up for? Did he look particularly weak into that braking zone, or was it just a place where was it just an opportunist move?
Oh well, it's pretty hard to pass on most of the track except for those tight corners. And the one spot that I did pick up, just following behind him, was just that last corner. I usually get a better run coming out of that, so I thought, you know, I'd try and hang out a little bit wider, get on the power a bit earlier, and just see if I could get that little bit of a run. And luckily enough, I think he might have a little bit of a twitch mid corner, so it gave me just that little bit extra to get on the inside by the first corner. So I'll take it.
Yeah, fantastically well done. Certainly gave us a little bit of entertainment for the first position there in the third race. But now, I guess coming to the fourth race, starting as far back as you were, and we noticed that you were carrying a little bit of damage on the front of your car as well. We noticed it about mid race. I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but just sort of talk us through the fight from the rear all the way up to seventh.
Yeah, I did have some damage, but yeah, start was good. Got a good start, and I went the outside. I was going to go inside, but there was a slow car on the centre of the track, so I had to pick my side and didn't want to go on the outside, but I ended up there. And then it all started to break loose in the middle of the first corner. At which point the inside was clear, so I tried to duck up on the inside until I clipped the front of someone. I don't know who it was, but yeah, got a little bit of damage there when I cut back underneath. I got a few spots, but yeah, the straight line speed after that was a bit of a bad time. I mean, usually I grab fourth down the straight, and I wasn't even being able to get out of third. So that was a bit rough, and there's a little bit of steering damage. But you know, I just kept doing laps, and a couple of people went off here and there, and just picked up the places where I could, and just brought it home really.
All right. Well, a fantastic run anyway. And we saw most of your teammates have good, strong runs there tonight as well. So fantastic effort all around. Yeah, thank you very much for coming in, having a chat with us. Thank you for the entertaining driving as well. Great points victory tonight. Fairly dominant. I think everyone would agree. And just a great performance all round. So well done. Thank you.
Oh, thanks very much. And thanks everyone for put it on, and everyone involved, and all the drivers and everyone, in behind the scenes has made it happen. It's been great fun for us all, so much appreciated.
Excellent. Well, there he is, guys. Alan Rushworth, your points winner tonight, and well worthy of that particular title. I think everybody will agree. So we've got a few guys down there just in the green room at the moment. Probably got time for one more interview. Otis, as the driving force behind it, I'll leave it up to you to decide who's going to come in for our third and final chat.
Yeah, mate, I'd love to grab a hold of Adam Gowans there, who's actually part of that lead pack. If we could just grab him into the green room and have a quick chat with him about the way he saw that race. Adam Garwood, we've got you here, mate. You were, I believe, the second place in the standings tonight. Not a bad round, mate. That's a pretty impressive drive. You've got yourself up there. You were so close to getting that first place. How did you feel about tonight's racing?
Yeah, I'm not normally the best at sim racing. I'm not the hugest fan of it. I can't really adapt to it. So I started off, I think, 10th in qualifying and slowly moved my way up during the night. So overall, it's been a good night.
Yeah, mate, you held strong pretty well all night, and you had Sam Stride there just tacking on the back of you. He's he's obviously been a teammate of yours. You got the same sort of livery. He was right there behind you. He never seemed to put any super duper moves on you like I've seen Mr. Stride put on before. But you've managed to keep it together, mate, and got a really good result out of it.
Yeah, we all had a bit of a team there with Sam and Alan, so we both knew we could have the race pace. I struggled a bit with the qualifying pace, but just in the races, just didn't want to do anything stupid and take each other out and just push forward. And we got a pretty good result, 1, 2, and 3. So definitely can't complain about that.
I mean, that's a really good result for you guys. You've showed some dominance amongst the team, and we're really happy to have you guys along. Hopefully, we get ourselves up and running for round 2, and we hope to see you guys back into it again.
Yeah, definitely. We hope round 2 comes along. You guys have done an awesome job at organising it all, and a big thank you for doing it. So we'll definitely be back for round 2 and hopefully back up the result.
No, it's great to have you. We look forward to going again, and we'll chat to you soon, mate. Well done on your second place. Hope to see you again, like we said at round.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for that.
All right, so that was Adam Garwood. I believe we're wanting to just have a little bit of a chat with a couple of the other guys here. Adam Garwood, of course, coming home in a very well-deserved 4th position in that final race. So we want to bring in Adam Gowans now. We'll have a bit of a chat with him. And if we get Otis back in here, it looks as though he's disappeared as well. But Adam Gowans, so close yet so far, mate. You drove a cracking race right up until the end there, where some misfortune befell you. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, thanks, mate. That was a really good fun race. The track temp was pretty hot, as you probably know, and the cars were pretty awful to drive, and the front end was going right off on my car. So I was just concentrating on track exits, corner exits, to try to keep the thing in front of Funslow, who was driving really well, and it was good fun to go side by side a few times. And on the penultimate lap down the back straight, I missed a gear, which drew us up side by side, and then wheel to wheel around that final turn was good fun. And unfortunately, as you're doing these things, it's a little bit difficult sometimes, and he slipped the wheel off the track and took me out across the start-finish line. So it would have looked good anyhow.
Yeah, it was one of those things where we were sort of sitting back and watching it, and there were particular places on the course where Funslow looked as though he had the advantage, but it seemed as though you'd managed to at least cotton on to where those places were quite early, and were just positioning your car in such a way to just sort of negate that. Obviously, he was drawing up alongside you. You forced him to the outside. He always would try the switchback, but you managed to get to most of the time at least break his momentum, so he couldn't get onto the throttle exactly when he wanted to do it. But certainly it was a great defensive drive up until that stage. And as you mentioned, when you came around the final turn side by side, and you actually gave him a fair bit of space there on the outside, so I'm sort of surprised he ran as wide as he did. Is that just down to the lack of grip that you were finding out there at that point?
The track was very greasy, and I just tried to hold it tight and get around there as quickly as possible. And I guess there was a little bit more grip on the inside of the track. He might have been on some marbles, and my thing kind of just straightened up nicely. And of course, you want to accelerate in a straight line if you can. So I didn't need to use all the road on the left, and he tried to use as much as possible, carry as much momentum, and just got caught out. But no, the race was, I really enjoyed the race, and yeah, I just couldn't get off that right-hand infield corner very well, and he had good momentum and pulled up alongside me into that final right-hand hairpin on several occasions. So it was good fun, good pressure, and just really enjoyed it. And look, I've got to say a big shout out to Otis and to Justin and everyone involved in putting this on. They've done a terrific job, and it's been really good fun to be involved with.
Oh, absolutely fantastic to hear. Otis has got a couple of questions for you, I believe.
Adam, Otis here, mate. Look, like you said, you come onto that the last corner onto the front straight, and like Edward and I said, you did nothing wrong there. It's just the Funslow just happened to run a little bit wide. It was brilliant racing between you guys. To really put on a really good show. Brilliant defensive drive. Obviously, no hard feelings between you guys. It was brilliant bit of racing to watch, and we hope to see you and Adam Funslow again at round 2 if we manage to get that all sorted out.
Thanks, mate. Definitely no hard feelings. It was just really good fun. It was nice to be at the front. I was I was pretty stoked with my qualifying effort, to be honest, and it was disappointing that I didn't manage to start up the front for the rest of the races. But I guess that played into my hands with that reverse grid race, and Funslow was there with me, and he's quick. He's always been quick. So that was really good fun, and we drove clean all race, and he just got caught out in the outside. It was a bit of a shame, but mate, it's okay, mate. We weren't going to win anything at the end of the day, just having a bit of fun, and it was nice, to put on a good show, as you said, which is terrific.
Yeah, mate, I'm glad. I've got to be honest, I'm glad you didn't actually win the race, because we don't want to see a damaged steering wheel again after your victory burnout in the practice room earlier in the week. So you keep your wiring and your wheel together, and we'll hopefully see you again in the second round.
Thanks, mate. It was pretty funny. She's all cable tied on now, so it should be safe.
Perfect, mate. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, so Adam Gowans there, so close to winning that final race, denied right there at the end, unfortunately. But sounds as though he enjoyed it as much as we all did. I guess looking back on that now, we all wondered what this was going to produce, what kind of racing was going to produce. I think we've had an answer to that. I think it's been pretty good. I guess as we mentioned, Otis, you've really been the organising driving force behind it. What did you make of it? What are your sort of parting thoughts after this first time out?
I tell you what, Edward, I'm impressed with the way the guys conducted themselves tonight. There was really minimal damage, if I guess you could say that, with a few little small pileups. But I mean, it comes down to one car making a small mistake, and on a track so small and a track so tight, can really make a difference to how the race plays out if a few cars get caught up. So look, I'm impressed at how the guys, like I said, conducted themselves. They raced well, they raced close, they raced hard. Hopefully we can get a second round together and continue on the way we have. But I think we've gone over the round winner, Alan Rushmore, Adam Garwood. Third place was Sam Stride for the round. So if we could really briefly just grab Sam in for a really quick chat, that'd be really great, just to hear his thoughts on it. Sam was actually he was a wild card entry from the mainland. He's done really well to get himself up where he is. Sam, we got you on here. We got you live on the SimShed broadcasting. We're going to have a quick chat with you. You've got yourself third place in the event tonight. Well done, mate. You've drove fairly consistently. You didn't get yourself into any trouble, and you just got yourself through. How did you feel about the racing tonight?
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. Like, I was a bit disappointed in my shootout time. I made a tiny little error and cost me 2/10, but then I just wanted to knuckle down and get myself up in a couple of spots. And I was racing with Adam, and we decided he was a little bit faster, so I let him go by, and we tried to hunt down Aaron Dillon, but he was just a bit too quick for us during the meeting.
Yeah, look. I gave you a bit of a heads up. Gave her the he's gonna do all right. He's the entertainment man. Look, you kept it quite tame tonight. I mean, we had a few practice runs. You and I and Adam and a few other guys having a bit of a race together leading up to this. And look, you don't mind poking the nose up the inside, but when it comes to you and Garwood running together in the race, you were very well behaved, and you kept the obviously the team orders going well, mate. You were very calm. So just talk us a bit through that.
Well, at the end of the day, like, you don't want to be that guy who takes out your teammate, especially when we were sort of, running up towards the front. We didn't want to sacrifice that and both look silly at the same time. But yeah, and that practice race meeting, I need to stop doing dive bombs like it's a go-kart, because it's a big, heavy Mustang.
Yeah, that's right, mate. Look, you raced really well tonight, mate. You didn't cause any drama. You had a good run. You got yourself a podium, and we're happy to have you along. So hopefully, if we get to a round two, we have you on board, and we'll see.
Yeah, just before I go, I'd just like to send out my condolences to the Beachy family for the loss of their pop. My thoughts are going to be with you guys for some time now, and I hope to see some of you down there at the end of the year when I come down. We'll have a beer and remember Ian for the man he was.
Good on you, Sam. We appreciate that. All right, we're going to wrap it up there, guys. It was an absolute pleasure to have everybody along. Thanks to all of the competitors. Thank you to our sponsors. We appreciate that. Thanks to Edward Foster for jumping on board with me and grabbing a hold of the mic and running the commentary tonight. Big thank you to JP at Simshed Broadcasting. He's come on and give us a hand in getting the broadcast out there. Got it out to you guys. I think he's done a magnificent job. Thanks to Howie, Justin Howie's done a great job of race control. The pressure was put on him. We didn't have a great deal of organisation. Obviously, everything's been going on in the real world in between, but I think we got a decent broadcast together. We got a decent event together, and I think all of the drivers had a bit of fun. So thanks to everybody that was involved in getting this up and going. Hopefully we'll see you again for round 2, Edward. You going to jump on the mic again, mate, or are you going to jump in the seat?
Well, normally I'm busy Sunday nights. I took this as a little bit of a one-off event, so we'll see. We'll see when the scheduling actually takes place, but at the moment, it was probably a one-off for me.
Tell you what, mate, we're happy to have you on board, and it was great to have you here. JP, same thing. Thank you for having us on your broadcasting platform, and we'll see you guys again next time. But until then, I am Otis Cordwell. Edward Foster was beside me, and we are signing out for now. Thanks for watching.